Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WTF podcast, Steel City Underground. My name is Terry Fletcher. Today is the Week 16 podcast, and we're a little late getting it up there only because we've had so much information. Week 16 was crazy, and I like to call it the week of reality because there's so many things that have happened, and you're just thinking, do the coaches not have a sense of reality? Do the players not get what's going on? And last but not least, does the media not get it? And we know what the media is. And don't even get me started on the refs. But let's start with what games we needed to have an outcome for AFC North favorable for the Steelers. So Green Bay pulled off a win against the Cleveland Browns. So now the Browns are 7-8. But what was interesting about that game is because Green Bay won 24-22, but I don't understand, and this is again just from a coaching perspective, why you have Nick Chubb, who ran down the throats of Green Bay the whole game, and then the coach, once they get in the red zone, decides to pass it every single time. I'm like, why are you not just running the football? We see this all the time now, and I don't get it. I mean, thank you for the loss. We appreciate that for bonehead decisions. But you see some of these holes in the defenses of these teams that are supposed to be great. And all the media talks about is, oh, Aaron Rodgers this and Aaron Rodgers that. And I'm rolling my eyes right now, which, I mean, he is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But their defense has holes. They had 22 points scored against them. They should have had 29, and the coach decided to have it passed. And so this is just really bizarre reality when it comes to how to win a game. I mean, winning a game in the NFL is not an easy thing to do, as we've seen this year, but I mean, you would think you would do everything you can that's working all the way to the point where you get to the end zone. But no, as soon as they get to the red zone or the end zone, or even 3 yards out, they just basically say, okay, now we're going to panic and pass every time, and it doesn't work out for them. Now let's look at the Colts-Cardinals game. So the Cardinals went into that game 10-4, everybody thinking, they're just on the top of the NFC, but they're definitely falling fast. Because I think that Kyler Murray, he's definitely panicking. He's losing something when he is trying to rush. And so the Colts beat them 22-16, and we really needed from an AFC team, we really needed an NFC team to beat them. So that was a little disappointing, but what can you do? The Titans then beat the 49ers. 49ers, couldn't you help us out there? That would have been great. But since we beat them, that's not going to be really an issue for the Steelers as we move forward, trying to get either win our division. I know you guys want to smack me for saying that, or try to get a wild card spot. But it's so bunched up in the wild card area there, it's almost impossible, I think, for us to get in there. We need so much help for that. Actually, our best bet would be to win the division. But you can see that the Patriots aren't, the darlings that everybody says they are, because the Bills, blew them out at 33-21. Now, here was the great part. The Buccaneers, they were favored by 12 points over the Panthers. And the first half, I'm thinking, why did I bet on them? Well, they pulled it out in the second half, beat them 32-6. And I bet on some teams that people didn't think were going to win. So I made a couple $100 this week. That was great on fantasy football. So I was pretty excited about that. The Jets and the Jaguars, talk about an underwhelming game. You've got a 2-13 team, a 4-11 team, and the Jets pulled it out 26-21. Talk about a what the football. I can't believe they got airtime. And I'll go to the airtime in just a second. I really feel bad for the Lions, not because they have a crappy quarterback, just because they actually have pretty decent defense. We saw that in our tie against them, but they just, I don't know, it's like they're one step behind, and the Falcons beat them 20-16. Talk about being in a division where the Falcons are in the NFC, where you could get in with a losing record. That's just frightening to me. The Texans and the Chargers. Now, this one was very interesting. The Texans came into that game 3-11. Chargers came into that game 8-6, and everybody just assumed that the Chargers with Justin Herbert were going to pull it out. And you're watching that game, and between his interception and I think he had a fumble lost, and they had also a on the interceptions pick six. That game was. It's definitely kind of knocking off people that are putting different quarterbacks on a pedestal, and the Texans blew them out 41-29. I mean, it was a crazy game. And if you took the over on that game, you're a smart person. Thank you. I'm smart. So now the Bengals Ravens, I mean, who are you trying to vote for there? You know, it would have been helpful just to try to win the division. But, you know, when you have a quarterback that's out, so Lamar Jackson's out, they had to put in their backup quarterback, and Joe Burrow, I can't believe he didn't make the Pro Bowl. He played his butt off. I mean, talk about a what the football moment. I mean, he had the fourth most passing yards in a game in Cincinnati since 1950 for them. I think he's legit, and they beat the Ravens 41-21, and now the Ravens were kicked out of the top spot in the AFC North, and so now they're chasing a wild card spot. They're 8-7. The Bengals are 9-6, and it is a tight race in the AFC North, as we know. But let's get to the main what the football. Oh my goodness! I'm sure you've heard Joe and Brian and whoever else will talk about it. Rant about the Steelers game, the Steelers-Chiefs game. Did anybody really think we were going to win that game? No. I mean, I didn't. I usually go into a game hopeful. When Seven's got the ball, when Ben's got the ball, you always think there's a chance. But the the Chiefs defense has really been stepping it up at the right time in November, December. They played terrible in October and September, but they've really been holding their own. And they came into that game 10-4. We came into that game, as we know, 7-6-1, and so we thought, okay, this could help if we could at least pull off a decent game. No, it was not only embarrassing. Here's the WTF moment: 36-10. We had some garbage points at the end. Thank you for a little bit of help there, so I could win my fantasy week. But that's all that you win there. The CBS station decided, and I'm in California, so it was the national game. Anytime Patrick Mahomes playing, California decides that's who they're going to play or put on the TV nationally. And we have DirecTV, so we get the NFL ticket. So we always can see a Steeler game. But in 9 minutes left to play, here's how stupid CBS is, and I'm going to say that. Just absolute dumb, not realizing what's going on in the league. They took the game with 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Nate Burleson came on, he's one of the commentators for that, and said, we're going to a more competitive game, because they also took out Pat Mahomes, so his backup was in. Ben was still in for a bit, but then we had Mason Rudolph came in later in the game, I think with a couple minutes left. But they decided to switch over to another CBS game, which was the Raiders game, which I found interesting because the Raiders game was over and they were taking a knee. So they go to a Raiders game that's over with another game that has almost 10 minutes left in it. Yes, the Raiders are now 8-7. They were playing the Broncos, who are now 7-8. It was a 7-13 game. I mean, okay, but this is ridiculous. They don't even have, I mean, okay, to leave a game like that, a national game, and they were taking a knee. The game was over. So I was pretty pissed about that. But you know what? They came back to the Chiefs and Steelers game. Like I said, garbage points after. I think it was 36-3 when they left, 36-10. But I think the WTF moment probably this week is when Ben was doing his presser and the words out of his mouth just, it made me so sad. He was asked, of course, because apparently he has invited a lot of his family and his friends to come to the Monday Night Football game that we play at Heinz Field against the Browns this Monday. And that only means when he's bringing his family and everybody's, there. Now it's a home game, so you don't always know that it could be his last game. Well, in a presser, he said it's most likely could be his last game for the regular season. And, in 18 years of first ballot Hall of Famer, 3 trips to the Super Bowl, 2 won. And honestly, I don't know when Ben mentally made the decision, but I keep hearing of all these pundits, and they keep doing these pictures of putting Aaron Rodgers in a jersey with the Steelers. look at our offensive line. What quarterback in their right mind would come to the Steelers right now? Our offensive line not only is young, but they don't protect the quarterback. And when Ben goes down, he doesn't even get help up. So it's unfortunate. I mean, our center Green, he's played pretty terrible, but he's a rookie, and he didn't come out of college playing center. So they've changed his position. Remember that. And we've had some injuries on the line, and so we've had to have other rookies come in. And other backups, but there's, no excuses there. It's just, you see a difference when we don't have our starters. When TJ Watt isn't in there, we go on we're terrible. And I think we're 0-6 when we didn't have Joe Hayden. We could tell that there was a lacking in the backfield. And then he comes back when we're playing the Titans, and talk about just a phenomenal game that he had. We needed him so bad, but there was a lot of confusion in the last game. It didn't seem like really anyone knew what was going on. There was a lot of turnovers, just really bad play calling. I don't know if Canada's on his way out, but it was such an embarrassing game. You had to think Ben went home and said, I'm getting myself beat up for something that may not change next year. And I'm in my 18th year. Let's go out with some dignity. So unless things change, and I think I read a quote this morning saying that there is a small window of opportunity for Ben to return if they ask him to. Because remember, everybody's out there saying, well, Ben needs to retire. But remember, we don't have losing seasons. So, WTF people, what are we going to do? We're going to put Mason Rudolph in there? Haskins is not going to be staying. And, Dobbs is on IR from the practice squad. We don't have a quarterback. We also don't have draft position for a quarterback. So we are going to either have to take somebody or find somebody in what is a quarterback light next draft, in the 4th or 5th round, or find a veteran wanting to come and play behind an offensive line that clearly is not strong, that is not protective, and also does not help with the running game. Najee Harris has really fought for those yards that he has this year, and I see that people are saying, our running game is terrible. It starts with the offensive line. You have to have protection. You have to have time to throw. You have to open up those holes for your running back. And unless you see that, then you're really not paying attention. And so, I don't know what Ben's second act's going to be, and we will miss him dearly. I don't see him going into broadcasting, maybe, but I don't see it. I see him more coaching, maybe a quarterback's coach, maybe, an O-line coach, maybe even an offensive coordinator one day. But I could see him going into coaching. But I hope now, he's approaching 40 in March, and he's going to take some time and reflect. But this could be his last game. So I hope on Monday Night Football, everybody's there. And there's a lot of emotion, a lot of tears, and most of all, I hope we win. There was a what the football moment with Myles Garrett, a defensive player for Cleveland, who's just a jerk. That guy is such a jerk. He basically came out and said, I will make sure this is Ben's last game ever. What does that mean? Is that a threat to injure Ben? Saying that, and then if he does that, I would file charges. What a jerk. So we definitely need to make sure that when I say I say the Steelers, they need to contain him. They need to make sure that Myles Garrett is nowhere near Ben. And let's hope that can be done, and it can be a competitive game. Hopefully we come away with the win. If we can get 2 wins and we get some help on other side, there's still a chance we could win the division. How weird is that at possible 9-7? But we sit right now at 7-1. We got a big game coming up. Hope everyone is there. Hope everyone is watching. And it should be an emotional game for sure. So everyone, Happy New Year. Have a great rest of your week. And thank you for listening to the Steel City Underground What the Football podcast. And my name is Terry Fletcher. Talk to you next week.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.